There was one performance this year that stunned me. It sank its hooks in my heart, not because it was good. There was nothing good about it, but it was effective and it did its job. It made its intended audience laugh and show their teeth. It was that moment when the person asking to sit in the most respected seat in our country imitated a disabled reporter. Disrespect invites disrespect. Violence incites violence. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose.
Well, Meryl Streep taking the stage last night at the Golden Globes, using her acceptance speech to slam President-elect Trump, although she didn't mention him by name, we should say. The reaction from the crowd, mostly positive. The reaction on social media, mixed. Piers Morgan, a longtime media personality, wrote a piece today, both flattering and critical of the actress, writing this: "I haven't heard such elitist snobbery since Hillary Clinton branded Trump supporters a basket of deplorables." Is this deplorables take two? Let's bring in Brad Blakeman, the former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush, and Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor. Leslie, is it deplorables take two, 2.0?
No, I actually thought that when the president-elect mocked that disabled reporter that was deplorable, because whoever is the president of the United States, even running for president, is to be the leader, the commander-in-chief of all people, and that includes the disabled. Jenna, you and I are parents. I have an 8- and 9-year-old. I would not accept or tolerate that behavior of my children, and I still would love to see an apology from the president-elect, not only for the disabled community, but so those of us like Meryl Streep who are horrified by that can have an easier time forgiving and maybe move forward toward unity.
Well, here's what the president-elect had to say on Twitter. He said this, Brad: Meryl Streep, one of the most overrated actresses in Hollywood. She doesn't know me, but attacked last night at the Golden Globes. She is a Hillary flunky who lost big for the 100th time. I never mocked a disabled reporter, would never do that, but simply showed him groveling when he totally changed a 16-year-old story that he had written in order to make me look bad. Just more very dishonest media. Brad, your thoughts on it?
Look, Meryl Streep has a hard time separating fact from fiction, politics from entertainment, and class from crass. She talks about the abuse of power and position, yet that's exactly what she did. She abused her power and position to hijack a award show. People didn't come there to hear her political rantings. They came there to give awards out. And by the way, who the hell is Meryl Streep to talk about an entire class of entertainment industry which she claims to have represented? There are a lot of people in that audience who didn't agree with what she said. It wasn't the proper place. She did the exact same thing she's accusing others of. She should be ashamed of herself, and if anybody should apologize, it's her.
Is there a double standard, Leslie? Let me go ahead and read a little bit more of what Piers Morgan had to say in his piece, because he's following what Brad is saying here as well. He says this: "You'd be hard-pushed to find an industry that encourages more disrespect and violence than Hollywood, a place where rich, powerful people make billions of dollars by regularly pandering to the lowest common denominators of sexism, racism, homophobia, and misogyny, and happily exploit every more hideous graphic violence to make a fast, easy buck." So is there a double standard here?
Wow, I think we're talking not about apples and oranges, but apples and cucumbers, or maybe not even the same food group. With regard to respect to what Piers Morgan said, Meryl Streep was talking about the person who's going to be the leader of the free world, who's going to be our president, commander-in-chief of the strongest, the best nation in the world, and I feel not showing his best. Brad, award shows are constantly used for politics. We hear people talk about climate change.
And that's what's wrong.
Hunger,
that's what's wrong with
about
Hollywood.
Homophobia. Why is it wrong? We have a First Amendment which makes this country better than any country in the world, that you can stand up and say, look, I'm unhappy with our president.
Go ahead, Brad.
Look, she could write an op-ed. She chose not to. She could take out an ad in the New York Times. She didn't do that. She could hold a press conference. She didn't do that. Why? Because nobody would listen to her. She used her power and position to make a political statement at an award show that has no place. And the fact that this is becoming commonplace is exactly why people don't like Hollywood. They're not going to be told how to think politically by actors.
Okay, let me ask you something, though, Brad. We do have a president-elect. He's going to be assuming that position in just a few days. We're less than 2 weeks away now from that. Do you think it's appropriate that he responded? Your point's well taken about whether or not this was the right time or place for Meryl Streep to make this sort of pronouncement. But do you think it was right for Donald Trump to respond in the way that he responded? Do you think that only added fuel to the fire?
No, he's Donald Trump. If you didn't know anything about Donald Trump, he's not going to be taken advantage of. He's not going to be disparaged. He's going to give it back exactly the way it's given to him. That's why people like him. He's not the typical politician, and he's not going to be taken advantage of, especially by people in Hollywood. That's the #1 target for Donald Trump, and people seem to like it.
Let me ask you something, Leslie, about just where we go from here, because the conversations tend to be looking a lot back, right? We're looking back at a situation that Donald Trump did in 2015. He says he wasn't making fun of the reporter. Others think he was. If you take a look at the map, but let's just take a look at the map and what happened with the election. This is one of the conversations that continues to come up about whether or not you have these people in power, and I say these people in general, we're talking about Hollywood, or those in power as the elitists in positions of power on either side of the coast, trying to lecture people in the middle of the country and thinking that the folks that supported Donald Trump are 100% supporters of everything he said and not voters that were anti-Hillary Clinton or anti-Barack Obama. Because there was a comment in there by Meryl Streep about those that were showing their teeth, that he was making them show their teeth. And that was generalizing, obviously, a wide swath of the country. So what does it tell us about where the conversation's going forward instead of backwards?
A lot of great points there, Jenna. You know, when somebody falls down, slips on a banana peel, there are two things that happen. There are groups of people that laugh and groups of people that help that person up. And not that everyone who voted for Donald Trump would be the one laughing at the mocking of the reporter. But I think it's terrible that there are some amongst us that have done that. And I think that those who voted for Donald Trump for the economy or to bring jobs back need to be more vocal. I think that we need to have conversations in order to go forward. But I think strong leaders lead by example. And I, for one, would respect our president-elect more if he stood up and said, look, and owned it. I mocked that man, and that was wrong. I was forgetting that I wasn't on a reality show. I'm going to be president of this country for all disabled as well. Please forgive me. Let's move forward. Let's unite. I would respect him more for that than pretending that the video that we've all seen did not happen and doesn't exist.
Quick final thought from you, Brad.
Hollywood is a town of hypocrites. They talk about global warming and they fly around in private jets. They don't like walls, yet they have the highest walls to prevent people from even looking at their property. They hate guns, yet they're surrounded by gun toters. It's a town of hypocrites, and they're being called out for it, and the American people are not going to stand for it anymore.
It was interesting. Donald Trump had a meeting with the head of LVMH, which is a big company, owns all sorts of brands like Dior and Louis Vuitton, Marc Jacobs, and the like. And there are a lot in Hollywood that say they don't want to support Mr. Trump. So it's interesting to see this meeting a day after the Golden Globes. This is Jack Ma, by the way, the head of Alibaba, a different company. But I thought that was a really interesting meeting just to take place after such a big event with Hollywood. And one wonders if the Hollywood actors and actresses says they weren't going to wear Dior or Louis Vuitton, what would happen? That would be a complete chaos. We'll see. That could be a next segment. Leslie, Brad, great to have you both. Thank you very much.
Thanks.